Hi, my name is Sarish Sudhakaran, and in this video, we'll analyze the cinematography of Janusz Kaminski. The goal is to break down his techniques so you have a starting place to learn more about his work. I don't think many would disagree if I claim he is one of the greatest cinematographers working today. His collaborations with Steven Spielberg are legendary, and it is amazing how Janusz has held his own and even imposed his style on Spielberg's work. The primary characteristic of his style is he doesn't use light to represent reality, but to create an atmosphere, very similar to a painter. David Mullen has used the word impressionist to describe his work, and I believe he's right. Janusz uses light in blobs or layers, not very defined, but always with character. There are detractors to his style, but I counter with one simple argument: the audience doesn't care. Also, Janusz has managed to be part of a team that consistently churns out gorgeous work at a blistering pace. Spielberg works very quickly, often 20 to 30 setups a day, and it would take a true wizard of cinematography to keep up. Janusz gets to work with great locations and sets, but in return, he must light in such a way as to give Spielberg an almost unlimited freedom in blocking. To tackle the space, Janusz has his own system of lighting, very recognizable. Let's start with his primary weapon, the backlight. His use of backlight is well known, so I'll just quickly break it down into a system I've observed. He uses backlight as a second key light, and he also uses smoke or haze to spread the light. This technique predates his work with Spielberg. Haze becomes its own light source and further lowers contrast due to flare. His use of backlight is always obvious, on purpose. It is amazing when you compare his use of backlight to the story beat and see when he chooses to use what fixture and how he wants it to interact with the character. With exteriors, he chooses to backlight his subjects against the sun. This method has one side effect that is another Janusz signature: the super hot rim or hair light. Very rarely do you get the liberty to overpower the sun, so he lets his rim light blow out. This carries on into his interior work as well, which gives his exteriors and interiors a sort of continuity, at least his version of it. The highlights occasionally bloom as well. He uses diffusion filters and nets on his lenses to force the light to bloom and further lower contrast. He uses every type of diffusion there is, or at least it seems like that. He also uses CTO and CTS gels a lot to find the right color. When he uses orange, it's always a strong orange. Whatever contrast he loses, he brings back with ENR in the lab. Nowadays, this can easily be done in the color grading suite as well. With DI, his work has undergone a sort of transformation. His work is more crisp and cleaner nowadays, and you could argue some of his recent work looks overlit and overprocessed, but it's still a mountain or two above most cinematographers' work, so let's just move on. His use of key light is most interesting. Unlike his backlight, his key light is always focused on the character. Not only is he adamant the audience should know where the key is coming from, but it must also ensure the subject is the brightest part of the frame. With Spielberg's ever-moving camera, that's a great strategy. If you look at his work, he tends to lean towards high-contrast images, more on the dark side. For lack of a better term, I'll call this look film noir with soft light. He's a soft light addict. On Amistad, his team created what they call the 7-minute drill, which is just another word for book light. They use ultra bounce or muslin to bounce back strong fixtures, which can vary. The second diffusion is usually a half soft frost. Most of his subjects look like movie stars, which they are, and they are lit from the front or side. I've also seen Janusz use Brise lights for his commercial and glamour work. He also uses top light, which makes the forehead brighter than the chin. This is possibly the result of his backlighting and rim lighting technique. Janusz gets to play with all the lights in the world, and since both he and Spielberg love to show windows, large windows, in the shot, they need a lot of lights and power. As a result, most of the time the windows are blown white or near white. The blown windows become symbolic. They match the blown rim lights and the noticeable backlight. Think about it. Janusz Kaminski creates a set of light on top of the existing set. With lenses, he has used them all, from Hawks to Primos to Cooke lenses, but I think he returns more often to the Zeiss Super Speeds, rehoused by Panavision. He doesn't like the sharp, detailed look you get with modern lenses, and does his best to diffuse the effect. He uses both primes and zooms, and even got Spielberg to use zooms. He predominantly shoots film for movies, but also uses digital cameras for his commercial work. What else can I say? His mastery is open for all to see, and I can't wait to see what this great master will come up with next. I hope this brief video makes you curious enough to learn more about the brilliant cinematography of Janusz Kaminski. The best way to learn more about him is to watch his movies and from his interviews in the American Cinematographer magazine and elsewhere. If there's a favorite cinematographer whose work you want analyzed, let me know. To see more videos like this one, please subscribe. There are lots more on the way. Bye now.